I'm Vin.
I'm Sori.
And we are doing an underground. So this is from Fear Factory. Off their obsolete
This
record.
is the first. I haven't heard Fear Factory yet, right?
Nope. Never heard Fear Factory. This is off their...
Do you think I'm going to like it?
I don't know. I'm curious.
Okay.
This is a type of metal that I like. This is right up my alley. I mean, I don't know if you'll like it because they're not going to play the same riff for a minute and a half.
Oh, boy. Here we go.
But, you know, hey, what can you do? Okay.
We're going to get beyond it.
So this is off their record, their album Obsolete, which was a pretty big album for Fear Factory.
What year did this come out? Do you know?
2001, 2002. Okay. I'm not sure. Not sure.
Recent.
Okay. So recent-ish, yeah. So this is Securitron, Fear Factory. It said profusely. It's profusely.
There is a fear factor in this division.
friends. That is grungy metal, friends.
Yeah, but why is this on the night show instead of the day one?
The day one. For all our UK people up in the house.
Seriously, why is this on the underground? This is not very popular to people?
It's Fear Factory, man. They're not as brilliant as Opeth.
Okay, we need to stop fighting about Opeth. I don't understand why this band is not popular enough for prime time.
I don't know. Maybe after we play this, they're going to be a bunch of Fear Factory guys, and then we can play some of their stuff on
Okay,
prime
wait a
time.
minute. No, I'm talking about just out in the general population. Are these people very I've not heard of Fear Factory except now. I remember seeing a CD kicking around in your basement when I was cleaning.
Fear Factory.
Yeah.
Fear Factory never really got...
Why?
They came around like 2 years before Korn,
Yeah.
and then when Korn showed up, it was a wrap.
Why? Why is Korn loved more than them?
Well, look at the subject matter. So here...
it's political, I think.
It's political, where Korn was more personal.
Oh.
And this was like 95,
okay. Yeah, that makes sense.
96, and, you know, that generation was way more like internally focused.
Oh, okay.
They were just worried about themselves. They didn't give a damn about a police state. They just worried about themselves.
Okay.
I think now, like millennials now, say what you want about millennials now, but millennials are very politically aware and they care about shit. This is the thing that gets me about like people like dissing millennials. Like people that grew up in the 90s, that came up of age in the 90s, they didn't care about shit. We were bombing the hell out of Bosnia and all this other shit. We were doing terrible stuff to people. And all people cared about in the 90s was themselves. So you had Nirvana and you had Korn. You had all these bands that were introspective. And there is a place for that. But they didn't give a damn about anybody else. Whereas millennials, they're actually looking outside of themselves and saying, hey, we need to do something. And then, you social justice warrior.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, it's
you're
come on. Like, give these kids a break. Like, come on.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, if Fear Factory and Korn would have came out now, I think Fear Factory would have been bigger than Korn. Because
so
they were so,
born at the wrong time.
Just wrong. I mean, they're all multimillionaires, I'm sure. But shout out to the big homie Dino Cazares. He was like the first guy to have a 7-string Ibanez and down.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Korn, they had the same. It's a big long story. Like, this is my wheelhouse. This is my type of metal. But you see the difference between the metal here and the metal that we listened to yesterday, where there are like 5 or 6 different riffs.
Well, I mean, I can't tell you I can't answer the question you just asked, but this to me seems better than what we listened to.
Well, it was just, they just basically rode one main riff. It was like... Okay,
maybe I like that. Maybe I don't like a bunch of...
Well, that's the thing.
Are you saying Metallica? Is that what you're talking about
yesterday?
yesterday?
Old school Metallica.
Yeah.
Yesterday was Megadeth.
Yeah. Oh,
yesterday was Megadeth.
Yeah.
Actually, no. This morning was Megadeth. But but you see how they had all those changes in the riffs and the
I think that I think that's interesting and it's cool. But I think that I prefer something that's repetitive. That's
right. And this is one of the biggest. I'm glad that we were able to do this because this is one of the biggest differences between old school metal and new metal.
Mm-hmm.
And these guys, Korn actually gets credited with starting new metal, but these guys were actually the real forefathers of new metal.
Really?
And one of the signatures, you just take a riff and you freaking just write it for 3 minutes. And that's why new metal songs are 3 minutes long, and old school Metallica songs and Megadeth songs, they used to be 8 minutes long because you have so many different, you're trying to do so many things, whereas new metal, you're just doing one thing.
Okay.
So you're like, oh shit, I found this riff. And they just rode that riff for the whole song.
Yep.
And then they would just add a little, they just open it up on the chorus. And boom, there you have a song. So you could write like, you know, when I was writing, I used to write like 4 or 5 songs in one city.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. Because it's just, you know, especially in the 90s, it was da-dum, 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 da-dum. That's all you were doing. Da-dum, 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 da-dum. Okay. So there you go. There's your metal history. You like this song, huh?
Yeah.
What'd you like about it?
Yeah. Well, I liked the beginning, how that kind of started out. I was like, where are we going with this?
Yeah.
And then, like the kind of like the cop noises and stuff like that in the background.
Yeah.
And then I liked the way that it ended was very pretty sounding. Like, what instrument was that? What was that? Yeah, it kind of stretched itself out.
Well, well, Fear Factory has a DJ. That's the other thing. So he was adding those layers in the back. That's like synth.
Pretty. I loved it.
That's like a synth type thing. So like, yeah, they added like some techno stuff into metal that was groundbreaking. They're a groundbreaking band. They just never took off. So lyrically, what do you think the song is about?
To me, it just sounded like the irony of having police or government there to protect you, while at the same time they're going to step all over your privacy and they're going to go after you if you happen to be in the wrong place at the wrong time. That was just kind of what I got. Surrender to your authority. The whole
surrender to authority.
Yeah.
You don't like that stuff, huh?
No.
You don't like surrendering to authority.
Mm-mm.
Yeah.
Nope.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it's about a police state. You know, when
I mean, even today when we were signing papers and they were like, "Oh, we both don't have to sign, just head of the household here." I was like, "Oh, what? I mean, what? What the actual?" And then I was like, "All right, it's not that big a deal. It's just a signature. Go ahead.
It's
go
not
ahead."
that deep. Well, you could have signed, lady. I would never.
I should said, "That's right, lady. Give me that pen." But you just assumed it was him.
Right. So this is interesting. So, like the latest shooting, the Parkland shooting. And, you know, the kid that was doing the shooting, I forgot the kid's name. I probably shouldn't mention his name anyway, because we don't want to make these people famous for murdering their classmates.
Yeah.
But he had been expelled from school. There had been like 20 complaints about him. And everybody was going after the FBI because they're like, didn't you know that the guy had... So I have a family member that is in a governmental agency. So I hit him up. I'm like, you guys are getting worked in the meter right now. And he goes, hey man, do you want your freedom or do you want your safety? And that was the end of the conversation. Because basically what he's saying is, okay, so if somebody makes a bunch of complaints about you, should we run up in your house and take away all your rights?
Right. And I'm sure that they get tons of people calling in.
Tons of reports all the time.
There's weird people everywhere.
Yeah.
I mean, some of you watching are probably... Point that finger over here.
But yeah, and so it's talking about admit the consequences. Freedom is an illusion because at some level... Yeah,
it has to be an illusion.
You have to limit it in order for security. And so everybody, when they're sitting comfortably in their seats watching a YouTube video... in the comfort of their own home, they're like, no, we need complete freedom. We don't want no police state. But if I were to say, okay, you're going to school, one of your kids are going to school tomorrow, and there's a shooter out there tomorrow.
Right.
Do you want me to limit the guy's freedom? We'd be like, oh,
yeah, limit it.
So it's one of those things where the ideal runs into the reality.
Yep.
And so
absolutely.
But here, like, this is obviously from the perspective of this is bad, right? Like they're constraining every movement. Mm-hmm. You know, they're concede your rights, concede your mind, surrender to authority. You know, it's a sort of 1984 Orwellian. The government is here to freaking control all of your actions. Mm-hmm. And you know, in the book 1984, they had this thing called thought crime, where if you were not thinking properly, that is also part of the...
Well, you were listening to something like a week ago, and the guy was saying, I believe that at some point in time, people are going to be able to hear each other's thoughts, and then... Yeah. It
was on the Joe Rogan show.
Yeah, he was talking about
Joe Rogan was actually saying it. He said, we're going to come up with technology in about 40 years that will be able to read thoughts and then, act
When he said that, I was like, yo, that's crazy, because you know what? We all have thoughts that just come into our head that's crazy that we're not going to actually do. Like, can you imagine having...
Yeah, like, how many times have you thought, like, I just want to slap that. Shut up. How dare you not like Opeth? Don't get at me, though. I know Taekwondo and Jiu-Jitsu and boxing.
Yeah, you don't want to... I might be entertained.
So yeah, it's like, okay, but then again, if I could tell you, hey, the guys that are going to plot 9/11, we could have thought screened them and then figured out a way to get them before they jumped on those planes, would you take that? Would you say, oh, that's a good thing, we could stop 9/11? Or people go crazy about the USA Patriot Act, right? Which basically, after 9/11, the Patriot Act is like 5,000 pages long, and it got approved like in a week and a half. And it's like, how the hell did you write? It's like, this is magnum opus of a book. How did you write that so quickly? It's all the conspiracy stuff, which we will do a podcast on. How did you do that so quickly, number one? Uh-huh. And then number two, you got passed in this like record time, right? And so, during the, 2001, 2000, which was oddly enough is when this record came out. there was a lot of art talking about these guys are overreaching on this whole security thing here. And so, you know, this song is okay in the sense of it perfectly communicates the idea that this is bad when the government, you know, oversteps their bound, because you literally have no place to hide. You know, the whole Edward Snowden thing where he was telling his girl, like, don't, you know, like, isn't this annoying? Like, if you were spying on us, you'd want to see us right now, right? Like, you know what I mean? Like, and then the whole Facebook thing with Zuckerberg and all that. And so it's only telling that side of the story. But what I wish was that there would be sort of that conflict of, okay, if the government were to pull back from all their spy programs, do you think that we would be safe in this country? Like, do you think that there would be, like, no major terrorist attacks in this? Like, because since 9/11, there haven't been any major terrorist attacks. There's 400 million people in America. So, say what you want, but since the Patriot Act's been passed, there has not been a second 9/11, and that happened almost 20 years ago. You don't think that these dudes were trying to do something?
Right.
And so it's easy for you to say in your safety, you know, to judge the government, you know, but you don't know what's going on the other side. You don't know what these people are intercepting. You know, how do you think we got, what's his name, old big homie, bin Laden? You know what I mean? Like, there's some really, really interesting questions there. But, so this team, you know me, I don't like when things are, like, so simplistic. Like,
nuance. Everything's about nuance.
Well, you have to, because things are never that simple. You know, you can't...
Well, it's nice when things are simple, so...
Well, do you believe in total freedom? You think people should be just completely free and the government should look at anybody?
No, I don't. And I understand that things are nuanced, but sometimes I like to just believe everything's black and white, so we can just at least once have a decision that we make that we can say, definitively, we made the right decision, because no matter what, you have to sacrifice. There's always going to be you have to sacrifice something for something else. So you have to sacrifice some of your freedom to have some protection.
Well, you know that thing, or you
sacrifice your protection to have all of your
freedom. You know that thing that not Jordan Peterson, I think it was one of the founding fathers. He said, those who will be willing to sacrifice their freedom for protection deserve neither. So you get all these, like, hyper right-wing people going, that's right!
Yeah.
And I get it. It's a catchy little phrase, but, you know, I'm a utilitarian at some level. Like, what actually works in the real world and the actual planet that we live in?
Right. Yep.
And so, like, this total freedom, the government can't spy on anything, and, you know, I'm not a fan of that. I'm also not a fan of every time I go to the freaking airport, I always get sent to the...
Oh, me too.
To the terrorist line.
I think you get sent for... look like...
Yeah, especially if I grow out my beard.
Yeah.
If I follow the Sunnah of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Shout out to all my Muslim friends. It happens all the time. Like, I've got to the point now where I shave a little bit. I used to have this job where it's flying all over the place.
It's crazy because the suicide bombers, they actually clean up their beards and stuff before they go do anything.
Well, yeah.
So you're safer that the man has a beard, but they don't know that.
I know, they don't know anything about Islam. Yeah, it's true. It's true. But of course, it's extremely ironic that when I'm going into the airport, I'm being pulled as... That's another show. It's ridiculous. But yeah, so, like, I'm somewhere in, like, okay, this is stupid. Like, obviously, if I was a terrorist... You know, I would try to blend in. I wouldn't try to, like, you know, but it's always me and the Islamic dude in the line. I could tell, like, what's good, Mahmoud? Yeah, how you doing? Always. Wallahi, it's true. All the time. That's why I'm like that's why I thought all the Arabic, because I feel the pain. I feel the pain.
Wow, that's crazy. Okay.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. It's absolutely ridiculous. But so on the one hand, I'm saying, yeah, we need some, you know, spying, and on the other hand, I'm like, well, that's ridiculous, putting a guy in a line like that. You know what I mean? Like, what do I know about it? But yeah, that's sort of the conflict. After 9/11, how were you with the whole Patriot? Did you know anything about the Patriot Act? Did you hear anything about the government, like, encroaching on your rights, or what?
I think that there was talk about it, but I don't think that I really had any interest in I didn't really, I wasn't interested in political stuff. Like, it just seemed like it was like another world, and I didn't even need to focus on it. But I wouldn't have had a problem at that point in my life with the government kind of like looking more into things. I would have thought it was for people's protection, and I would have assumed I'm not doing anything, so nobody's watching me. Yeah. I was naive like that.
He would have been watching you, my friend. Watch all. I'd be watching you. I'm like, wait a second.
Not from the bushes.
Yeah, from the bush. I'd be like, yo, that girl's a terrorist, man. You see, she's hiding something.
No, this is going in the bushes
I
category.
have to take you into custody. I'm like, Sarge, I gotta check something.
I gotta question this one.
By myself. All right. Good Lord. I just shot that video for you today, so, you know, that'll cancel out the, whatever trouble I'm in after that.
Oh, you're in no trouble for that.
That display.
Believe me.
Oh, hey. That's another show. All right, well, what do you give that song?
8.
I saw you were enjoying the song.
0.5.
Yeah, I felt like you were enjoying the song.
I was. You're right.
Yeah, what did you enjoy about it?
I just felt like it was interesting. Like, some of them, like, I don't feel like that they're interesting. Like, this one was interesting to me. Yeah. It had, well, you were so entertaining that I couldn't completely vibe with the song because I was being sucked by your show you were putting on. But it was still, I liked it. I'm going to go with an 8.5.
8.5. Yeah, I actually give this one like a 6.5. I felt like the lyrics are too simplistic. The worldview was just too simplistic for me. It doesn't seem very realistic to me. I like the riff, so I like the musicianship. It was, you know, sometimes complex isn't all you need, and it's Dino Cazares. He's not I'm a better guitar player than this guy. Seriously, I am.
Prove it to me.
Yeah, I could teach you this song. After this thing goes, I'm going to teach her Securitron. You'll learn in about 3.5 minutes. I'm serious. It's it's down to it. You could have like your thumb and these 2 fingers. All you need is these 2 fingers to play Fear Factory. That's all you need. You need to be able to strum, and then these 2 fingers. You just down tune everything and drop D, and then that way you can do this instead of having. Anyway, I'll explain to you later. All right, 6.5 for me.
8.5.
8.5. I can't do math. That's somewhere between 7. It's probably 7.5 as a score. All right, guys. Well, that's the Underground Show. We will see you tomorrow with the. I don't know what to call. I don't know if it's mainstream. We're working.
Do you have an idea of what we could call?
Yeah, we're trying to come up with a working title for the non-Underground Show, but all of them suck. So I don't know what to tell you.
Help us.
Help. Yeah, I'm not. I mean, it's a mainstream show. So anyway, Underground. Vin out.
Sori out.
Gone.